The fading light of a quiet evening draped Henry Mason's Cedar Hollow front yard in a golden hush, broken only by the rustle of leaves skittering across the grass. His hands, calloused from decades of labor, trembled as he unfolded a thick envelope that had arrived that morning. Its words a cold blade. A $50,000 fine from the Homeowners Association, led by Eleanor Pierce, a retired realtor with a perm and a vendetta. His crime was refusing to repaint a weathered fence, hand-hewn by his father 50 years ago, a relic of a simpler era. Worse, the HOA threatened to foreclose on his home if he didn't pay within 30 days. Henry's fists crushed the paper, his pulse a war drum. This wasn't a fine, it was an assault, a declaration of war from a woman who'd spent months pecking at him like a vulture, testing how far she could push before he snapped. Eleanor's campaign had started small. Petty complaints about his unsightly barn, overgrown lawn, and that cherished fence. Henry, a widower since his wife Margaret's death 2 years prior, had brushed them off. His fixed income stretched thin. But $50,000 was a fortune, and Eleanor's audacity burned hotter than the sun. She saw him as a frail old man, worn by grief, a relic too tired to fight. She was dead wrong. Henry held a secret weapon, the deed to the 1.2-mile access road into Cedar Hollow, the neighborhood's only lifeline to the outside world. His father had kept it when selling the surrounding land decades ago, a private asset Henry had quietly allowed public use, until now. As the sun sank, casting jagged shadows across his yard, he tossed the crumpled letter into the trash. No payment, no surrender. Striding to his shed, tools glinting in the dusk, he vowed to remind the HOA who truly held power. Henry's life was carved from the soil of Cedar Hollow. Born to farmers and builders, he'd hauled timber, fixed tractors, and learned engineering from men who valued sweat over textbooks. He married Margaret Young, raised 2 daughters now long gone, and built a career designing bridges, sturdy spans that outlasted fleeting trends. After Margaret's passing, his wooden house, built by his father, grew quiet, its creaks a chorus of memories. The barn, where he once tinkered with engines, stood as a monument to his past. The fence, a boundary of a life he cherished. He'd tended his land, coaxing tomatoes from the earth, watching birds flit through the oaks, content until the HOA's shadow fell. It began with a letter from Eleanor demanding he repaint his fence, its faded hue failing aesthetic standards. Henry chuckled, tossing it aside. Who was she to judge his father's work? But the letters snowballed. $200 for unmowed grass, $500 for an unapproved mailbox, $1,000 for an overhanging branch. Each was a jab, not about beauty, but control. Eleanor craved dominion over every splinter, every blade of grass. Henry, who'd never joined the HOA or signed their covenant, ignored them. His land predated their rules. But this $50,000 fine, with its foreclosure threat, was a gauntlet thrown. "They think I'm a pushover," he muttered, pacing his porch. "They've got no clue." Henry's trump card was the deed to Cedar Hollow's access road, a 1.2-mile artery the HOA had used for decades, assuming it was public. When his father sold the surrounding land to developers, he kept the road, private property, open at the owner's discretion. Henry had never flaunted it, preferring peace over power. Now, Eleanor's bullying forced his hand. Rifling through an old filing cabinet, he unearthed the agreement, road deed, maps, and surveys, yellowed but ironclad. He called Thomas Reed, a lawyer and former student from his engineering days. Over coffee, Henry laid it out. "They've used my road for years, never asking who owns it." Thomas grinned. "They're in for a shock. Let's make them regret this." As Thomas drafted legal filings, Henry girded for battle. A bridge builder by trade, he valued stability, not strife, but Eleanor's relentless campaign, sharper letters, imperious demands, left no choice. Her attacks grew bolder. A black SUV rolled up one day. 2 HOA enforcement officers in cheap uniforms stepping out. A tattooed brute smirked. "We're inspecting your property, Mason. You've ignored our standards." Henry gripped his rake, voice steady. "You're not welcome here." The man sneered. "You'll wish you'd cooperated," before retreating. But the HOA doubled down. Workers arrived unannounced, tearing down a section of his father's fence, claiming it was a hazard. Splinters littered his yard as Henry photographed the damage, seething, and called Thomas. Then, one night, his golden retriever Bella, his loyal companion since Margaret's death, vanished. Henry searched until dawn, hoarse from calling her name. A neighbour, Sam, phoned, found Bella locked in a van with other pets taken last night. Henry retrieved her, heart pounding. No proof, but he knew Eleanor's hand was behind it. A personal blow. The final straw came when an HOA logoed utility truck arrived to cut his power and water until you comply. Henry stormed to his shed, grabbed a wrench and shut off his own utilities first, securing the lines with decades-old skill. "Try me," he dared them. They left, but the message was clear. Eleanor would stop at nothing. Cedar Hollow split. Some neighbours, fed up with HOA overreach, rallied behind Henry. Others clung to Eleanor's vision of manicured perfection. She called an emergency meeting to tighten her grip, but Henry saw his chance. He spent days organising his documents, rehearsing with Thomas, ready to strike. The community centre buzzed as residents filed in. Eleanor stood at the front, poised in a pristine silk blouse, her voice commanding. Henry slipped in early, taking a back seat, his stack of papers hidden in a worn satchel. Eleanor opened with confidence. "Mr. Mason has defied our rules and refused his fines. We're here to discuss legal action." Murmurs rippled. Some nodded, others shifted uncomfortably. Henry rose, slow and deliberate, drawing every eye. Eleanor's smile flickered. "Henry," she snapped, "you've had every chance to comply. Pay the fine, or we'll proceed." He stepped forward, voice calm but forged in steel, slamming his papers on the table. "You've got it wrong. I own the road into Cedar Hollow." Silence crashed like a felled oak. Eleanor's jaw tightened. "What?" Henry spread out the deeds, maps, agreements. "My father kept this road when he sold the land. It's private. Mine. You've used it for decades, thinking it's yours. It's not." Whispers erupted. "This is nonsense," Eleanor sputtered. Henry held up the deed. "No mistake. I'm done with your threats. You've got no power over me or this road." He pointed to the map. "Without my say-so, you're cut off. No fines, no control." Eleanor trembled, colour draining from her face. "I've filed an injunction," Henry added. "Your fine's void. Sue me. You'll lose." Clara Evans, a long-time resident, stood. "Henry's right. I'm with him." Others rose. Sam, Lydia, more. Applause swelling. Eleanor protested. "This is outrageous." But her voice cracked. The tide had turned. The meeting dissolved into chaos, neighbours shunning Eleanor, swapping tales of her tyranny. By morning, Henry planted a sign at the road's entrance. "Private property. Road use suspended. Contact H. Mason." Cars piled up. School buses stalled. Delivery vans honked. Residents fumed. Eleanor called, voice thin. "We need to talk." "Through my lawyer," Henry said. Courthouse mediation followed. Henry's demands were clear. Cancel the fine, Eleanor's apology and resignation, dissolve the HOA, form a resident council, and a $1 yearly road lease to the working group. Eleanor resisted, but outraged residents forced her capitulation. At a packed meeting, she spoke, voice brittle. "I apologize to Mr. Mason and Cedar Hollow for the distress caused. I resign." Silence met her words. Henry nodded and left, peace restored. A new council rose. No fines, just cooperation. Henry reopened the road for $1 a year, framing the lease beside his father's toolbox. He rebuilt his fence with cedar, carving, "Built by my father, defended by his son." Clara brought cobbler. "You showed them," she said. Quiet strength wins, Henry replied. He taught kids woodworking in his shed as Eleanor sold her house and slunk away. Her reign ended. Cedar Hollow bloomed, free, peaceful, Henry's legacy secure.